Your dad and I were just 19, excited for our little baby. We had so many dreams of all the things you would be. There was sudden confusion as the doctors whisked you away. Nothing could have prepared us for what happened that day. We held our breath as you were fighting for yours, not knowing how much time we'd get. Would it be days or months or more? We'll be your champions. We'll fight for you every day. We'll be the advocates, making sure everyone knows your name. You won't be invisible. You won't have to go this alone. We'll do the impossible, and we'll do it all for you, the incredible ones. You're the incredible ones. There's so many of us who keep fighting for care and answers. Survivors and families relentlessly helping each other. For every angel that flies away, we remember. We'll keep marching on for the ones that we hold dear. We'll be your champions. We'll fight for you every day. We'll be the advocates, making sure everyone knows your name. You won't be invisible. You won't have to go this long. We'll do the impossible, and we'll do it all for you, the incredible ones. You're the incredible ones. You're the incredible ones. We'll be your champions, all for you, the incredible ones.
This is Ryan Lochte, and today is the day. Today is CDH Awareness Day. Please donate to help the kids at www.cdhi.org. Donate.
Hey everyone, I'm two-time Olympian and Olympic bronze medalist bobsledder Asia Evans for Team USA.
Hey, this is U.S. Olympian Dwayne Solomon, and I have a message for you guys. April 19th is Congenital Diaphragmatic Hernia Awareness Day, and over 52,000 kids born with CDH every year. And did you know that CDH International is the only charity helping these babies on a global level? On just $250K. Please go donate at cdhi.org. And thank you for your guys' time.
How's it going, everyone? This is Jared Goldberg. I'm a U.S. ski team member and a two-time Olympian, and I do downhill racing. So going really fast downhill around gates and flying through the air. It's fun. And we get to wear really tight, freezing cold spandex. It's awesome. Anyway, I wanted to give a shout out to CDH International for babies with congenital diaphragmatic hernias. So this is a big issue, and I encourage you to take a look at their site, cdhi.org, and you can donate and support their awesome cause. Have a good day.
Hi everyone, this is Lolo Jones, Summer and Winter Olympian, and I don't know if you're aware, please donate to CDH International. Their site is cdhi.org. Have a great day, guys.
Hi everyone, it's April 30th, 2025, and this is the CDH Telethon. Welcome to our latest telethon. This is the first one we've had in 2 years because last year we did not have a telethon. We posted during the month because I was doing a Camino, and I am not only the host, the videographer, but I'm also the editor and director of the telethon. So I'm Dawn Ireland, president and founder of CDH International, and mom to my angel Shane, who was lost from CDH in 1999 at age 6. Today is a special event because we're celebrating 30 years on the 30th day of CDH Awareness Month. So April is Congenital Diaphragmatic Hernia Awareness Month, and April 19th is CDH Awareness Day. And I believe it is the 20th year. Is it the 20th year that we've been celebrating CDH Awareness Day on April 19th? The years are just rolling by. I can't believe it's been 30 years already. So this year, we're going to take a look back at interviews we've done in the past. We've got a lot of new celebrities. I think we're up to 175 celebrities now. So we decided we're just going to throw them all in. So you can see ones that you haven't seen in a few years, but also see all the new celebrities as well. And we are so grateful to everyone who has given interviews, everyone who has donated and will donate in honor, memory, or just because you care about kids to this year's telethon. Our goal is to raise as much money as possible for research, because if you're not aware, not only is there very little awareness for these kids, but there's even less CDH research funding, especially with the way the world's going on right now, and NIH and CDC and WHO, everyone is struggling for research funds, and CDH was never at the top of anyone's research list, so now even less so. I know for a fact, even though I can't share details, that with $5 million, we could stop CDH within 5 years. There's lots of things going on in the background. A lot of things aren't published yet or public, but we're so close. We are so close. But $5 million seems pretty far away. We just raised $3 million last year. We hit that 3 million limit, but it's been 30 years, and it's just been a struggle to raise money for these kids. We don't know why. And without awareness, we can't raise funds for research. 52,000 children are born with CDH every year. If you've never heard of it, let me explain to you what CDH is. Congenital diaphragmatic hernia occurs when a baby's diaphragm fails to fully form and organs migrate in the chest cavity, preventing lung growth. CDH occurs in 1 every 2,500 babies. That equals 1,600 every year in the U.S., 52,000 every year globally. The survival rate varies from country to country, continent to continent, and even from hospital to hospital. Some hospitals in the U.S. brag about an 85% success rate, but then we have hospitals in lower middle income countries that aren't even a 1 or 2% success rate. Not because they're not trying, but because so many hospitals don't even have pediatric surgeon, they don't have heart and lung bypass machines, they don't have experience with CDH, and they don't have other ventilation equipment to take care of these children. Our goal is to raise awareness, to help support the pediatric surgery community globally, to fund research, and to help with families as much as we possibly can. And we've done quite a bit in 30 years. CDH International is a grassroots organization started by 2 moms, myself and Rhonda Montague, back in 1995 on my kitchen table with just a typewriter, not even the internet. It's that old. Our first goal was just to support families so they wouldn't be alone, because when our sons were born, all we had was each other. We had no information, nothing, not a brochure, not a charity to go to, not a website, not even the March of Dimes had anything on CDH at the time. So the goal was just to reach out and help families, and that's what we did. Letter by letter, and phone call by phone call, talking to different hospitals and doctors and asking them to refer families to us. And they did. Now, 30 years later, CDH International, the world's oldest, largest, and leading congenital diaphragmatic hernia organization, works in 84 countries and is registered in 7. We hope to register to more countries, and we hope to build an army of volunteers and donors and advocates and survivors and family members to be louder and to bring on more research to help these kids. Today, you can play your part by sharing these posts and these videos. You can like or love anything that we're sharing with the telethon. And if you're so led to, please donate to help these kids. $30 for 30 days, for 30 years of CDH International and 30 days of CDH awareness this year. $30 may not seem like a lot to some. Maybe it's a lot to some as well, but it can make a difference in helping these kids. So join us, do what you can. Even just watching and sharing makes a big difference. Thank you for caring enough to tune us in. Please stick around. It's going to be a great day.
Hey, my name's Melissa Reeves, and I'm the mom of CDH survivor Allie, and I just want to share a little bit of her story. It took us almost 2 years to get pregnant with her, and whenever we did finally get pregnant with her, I was super happy and excited, and all throughout my pregnancy, I kind of felt like something was off, and we went for our 21-week ultrasound. We were excited to find out we were having a girl, but I also noticed that the ultrasound tech was taking what I felt like was a long time. She kept making these funny faces. And when we went back to the room and my OBGYN came in, he did congratulate us on having a girl, but he also let us know that Allie was going to end up having a birth defect called congenital diaphragmatic hernia. And at the time, her prognosis was quote unquote good. Her stomach was in her chest cavity, and they ended up sending us to see an ultrasound specialist in Johnson City, which is about 45 minutes from where we live. And we go there. It was confirmed that she did have CDH, and at first we had planned on having her at the Johnson City Medical Center. And that was in November, towards the beginning of November of 2014. And by this time, that probably close to the 1st of December of 2014, her prognosis went from good to basically I don't know, because her intestines at that time had moved into her chest cavity. Her liver started moving into her chest cavity. So then we were referred to Vanderbilt, where it was confirmed that she would have to be born there, just in case if she required ECMO. So during my pregnancy, I pretty much had 3 OBGYNs and 3 ultrasound specialists. And when we went to her first Nashville appointment, we met with the doctor who would be delivering her, with the surgical team that would be taking care of her. And they wanted me to stay there a month before she was born, but we were having issues with finding a place to stay until about a week before they planned on inducing me, which was really terrifying because they did tell us flat out that if she were to be born in our hometown, she would have to be flown, and if she were to be flown, she wouldn't make it. So luckily, we were able to get up there at least a week before, and they induced me on March 1st. I had her March 2nd, and before, they told us that we wouldn't get to hear her cry because of everything in her chest cavity. But she was born March 2nd, 2015 at 4:47 p.m. When she came out via C-section, I heard 2 little tiny cries that sound like a little kitty cat. And that's one reason why we call her Alley Cat. And whenever I heard those cries, it just gave me a little bit of hope. And she was immediately intubated and taken to the NICU. I didn't get to see her until after 8 o'clock that night. And she was just this cute little tiny person that I couldn't believe was just in my body a couple of hours prior. And just seeing her hooked up to all the medicines, the wires, PICC line, intubated. It was hard, especially being a first-time mom and never hearing of this birth defect, and just learning that the first little tiny person that you have, you don't even know if you're going to get to take them home, because she was given less than a 50% chance of surviving. And everything was touch and go for about the first week. Her surgery was actually delayed 3 times. The first time it was delayed was because her blood gases and vital signs, weren't where they wanted them to be. And then whenever they were good to go, we had to wait for an ECMO machine to be available. So that was the second time and reason that her surgery got postponed. And finally, at 11 days old, on Friday the 13th of all days, she ended up being able to have her repair surgery, which now we consider Friday the 13th and the number 13 just a lucky day for us. That's weird, but her surgery, they first told us would take about an hour, and it ended up taking a little over 3 hours. And whenever the surgeon was done, she came in and let us know that everything got put back where it's supposed to be, except for her appendix. They had to put it behind her stomach. And that after everything was placed back into her abdominal cavity, that her lungs started inflating quite quickly. Of course, her left lung's still smaller than what it's supposed to be, because she did have left-sided CDH. And she did also have hypertension due to her heart being pushed over to the right, but that ended up resolving itself after her surgery. And she stayed in Pod H in the NICU, which is considered sickest of the sick. And they just basically just kept an eye on her. She did really well really quickly after her surgery. And at a little over 3 weeks old, she got to be put on wall oxygen. And it was also the first time we got to hold her. Whenever they asked me, they just looked at me, they were like, "Do you want to hold her?" And I'm looking at this tiny child that's still hooked up to numerous things. I'm like, can I hold her? But it was crazy being able to finally hold her, because, you know, for the first 3.5 weeks, all I could do was look at her and barely touch her. And pretty much after that point, a couple days later, she was breathing room air. We got moved down to Pod A, which is the step down to whenever you're almost ready to go home. She had a little trouble with her feeds, and she did require an NG tube, which she did not like, and she liked to pull it out a lot. And the biggest concern at that point was just making sure she could tolerate her feeds, and she was able to. And at 5 weeks and 3 days, I do believe it is, we got to go home. And I was terrified, because I was a new mom, just saw my child fight for her life, and I was just downright terrified. I didn't know if I really needed and could take her home and everything be okay. But we did get to come home, and like most kids, she was doing the whole failure to thrive thing with not gaining weight like they wanted her to. So, and that has actually been going on for 8 years. She's still diagnosed as failure to thrive. And throughout the years, we have dealt with GERD. She used to be with the TIS program, with doing occupational therapy. And then she's done 2 years of physical therapy and a year of speech therapy. And she's also, at 18 months old, she ended up having a bowel obstruction that was caused by malrotation of her intestines, which is also a thing that is notorious for happening with these kiddos. And that was just a horrible experience. We almost lost her. And I'm thankful we didn't. And whenever they did that surgery, she had a lot of scar tissue wrapped around her intestines. Luckily, it didn't cut anything off, so her intestines are still good. And they had told us that with her appendix, they were going to have to end up putting it on her left side. So they just went ahead and removed her appendix, because I already know if they would have left it there and put it on the left side, we would have had a lot of issues in the future. so that's a plus. And ever since the bowel obstruction, we had just continued on with finishing up physical therapy and speech therapy. She has seen 2 different GI doctors over the past 8 years. Right now she has one that's doing pretty well. And for the most part, she's doing well. It's just that sometimes she will get a little tired, and sometimes it seems like she's having it's a little bit, not, well, I guess you could say a little bit harder for her to breathe if she's, doing a strenuous activity. So we have to keep an eye on her, remind her to, sit down and calm for a little while. And the biggest concern we have at the moment is back in October of last year, where we go to Vanderbilt yearly now. They did say that she does have a bulge towards the left back side of her diaphragm, so she does have a higher chance of reherniating. Like, this child hasn't kept us on her toes enough for the past 8 years. That is something we do have to keep an eye out for. But for the most part, Allie is a quote-unquote normal child. She goes to school. She loves going to school. She's her friends. She's reading. I'll catch her in her room at nighttime with her little bookmark flashlight, and she's just up there reading. She loves to color and draw, and she really loves to help people. So she's definitely a little fodder, and I hope that every little guy gave and give hope other families. We're not alone. We're here. We see you.
Hi, I'm Alex Lark from UK Eurovision duo Electro Velvet, and I'm honoured to be joining you in raising awareness this April for Congenital Diaphragmatic Hernia Month, or CDH. CDH is a devastating birth condition that affects 1 in every 2,500 babies. That's around 52,000 children a year who need our support, our voices, and more crucially, more research. April 19th is CDH Awareness Day, and this year is extra special as CDH International celebrates 30 years of fighting for these children and their families. So please visit cdhi.org to learn more. Donate if you can and help CDH International continue their life-saving work. Let's shine a light on CDH and help give every child the chance they deserve. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Downtown Julie Brown. Did you know that CDH affects 1,600 kids a year in the US alone? There's only a 50% survival rate. Well, now you do. It's CDH Awareness Day. Please donate to help the kids.
Hello, I'm Arayu, and it's so important that we remember that April is Congenital Diaphragmatic Hernia Awareness Month. 52,000 babies are born every year in the United States of America with this hernia. That happens when the diaphragm do not form and the lungs do not have space to develop. CDH International is the world's largest, oldest, and leading charity fighting for CDH. These children endure with long hospitalizations, over $1 billion in the US alone. These children need research and awareness, and their families need help. That's why I ask you to please donate today to cdhi.org because they need you. Thank you very much.
Hi, everybody. We have Colleen here with us, and she's going to introduce herself and tell us where she lives, and tell us how she was introduced to the world of congenital diaphragmatic hernia. So, Colleen?
Hi, everybody. My name is Colleen Martin. My cherub is 4.5 now. She's our firstborn. So we were very excited that we were pregnant, and it wasn't always a very normal pregnancy from the beginning. I felt like every time I went to the doctor, there was a question or something was wrong, but it wasn't until our 18-week ultrasound they noticed that I had a SUA, a single umbilical artery. And so at that time, they just said, it's not that big of a deal. We just want you to come back later for some more scans to make sure that the baby is growing properly and developing properly. So we did. We went back at about 26 weeks, and they said that there was something possibly wrong with the heart. It wasn't where it normally is, and so they scheduled me for an echo. And at this point, I had been to a lot of doctor's appointments. So for this echo, I said to my husband, don't worry about it. Like, I got it. I can go on my own. And he said, no, I just feel like I should go with you this time. So we went, and you could always tell when the ultrasound tech or somebody notices something's wrong. And she got really quiet, and I said, you know, is there something wrong? Like, will you just tell me? And the doctor came in, and they were whispering a little bit. And the doctor said, your baby has a 50% chance of breathing on its own when it's born. And we're going to send you to CS Mott, University of Michigan Hospital. And I was just a mess. I mean, it was Memorial Day weekend, so they wanted me to wait like 4 days to go. And then I had to sit there and continue the echo. So I was very thankful that my husband was there with me, because I would not have been able to drive home after that appointment. I called my mom, who is a nurse, and I was just an emotional disaster. And my husband called his mom, and they said, you know, let's try and get you in today. Let's, you know, why wait all weekend? So we got a hold of Mott, and they said, if you can get here in an hour, we'll take you. So we went out to Mott, and the doctor was amazing. She did a full ultrasound on me, and she said, you know, have you ever heard of CDH? And even, you know, with the nurses in my family, and I'm one of 10 children, like, you know, just being around kids all the time, and, you know, 4 or 5 nurses in the family, I'd never heard of CDH. So she explained it to me. And then she went on to say that the left side is more common than the right, and ours was a right-sided. And so there's less research done on right-sided. So we were, I was upset. I was really upset, kind of for a little bit, had the like, why me mentality. And my mom said, sorry, I didn't think I was going to get emotional. Okay. You know, you wanted this baby so bad, you know, they know, God knows that you can handle this, you know, that's why, you know, God knows that you and Johnny will be great parents to this baby, no matter what the obstacles are that you'll face, you know, God knows that you can handle it. So made me feel a little bit better. And then we had a consultation with one of the doctors at Mott to go over it a little bit more and examine what CDH is and what our next steps were throughout my pregnancy, and different MRIs and scans and appointments, and how everything was going to look. And he also told me, don't Google it, because he said there's so many different stories and different outcomes, and you know, everyone's story is so different. So I didn't Google it at that time. And we just waited and waited. And at 39 weeks, they wanted me to be induced. So I went in, and she was not ready. So it took a while. So, but we kept losing the heartbeat and almost had a C-section, and finally she was ready. So as soon as, I had the baby in the OR, and as soon as I had her, we didn't know at the time if it was a boy or girl. As soon as I had her, they took her from me into the nest and intubated her right away. And she wasn't doing well with the breathing machine that she had. So the next day they decided to put her on ECMO. And the day after that, they did her repair surgery while she was on ECMO. And she was on ECMO for 6 days. And they were debating whether they should take her off of it. It was kind of like a risk, but then it's also scary being on it. So thankfully she came off of that. Okay. And then every day after that, it was kind of like she was surprising everybody. She was just, I don't know, she was responding to the medications well, and she was healing well. And we thought that we were going to be expected to be in the NICU for at least 2 months. And we were in the NICU for 33 days. She took a bottle when we were there, so we thought she'll only be on this NG tube. People were saying, oh, she'll only be on it for a little bit, she'll be fine. But that was the only thing that she came home with, was the NG tube. So, which was surprising, and we were very fortunate. We had the NG tube for about 15 months. We had gone to an intensive feeding program, and they thought maybe she was too young, so then we got the G tube put in. And she just, food is just still a daily struggle. But I found your organization when I would be up tube feeding her in the middle of the night, and everyone's sleeping, so you're not talking to anybody and you're just scrolling through. And I thought, okay, now that I have her, because I had heard of cherubs, and so I joined. And just looking through stories and advice, and it was just really comforting to know that you're not alone. I felt really I don't know what the right word is for it. I felt really lucky and blessed that we had the outcome that we had, and then I felt almost bad that I did, in a way. You know what I mean? There are other people that weren't as lucky. So it was I knew I wanted to do something to help others. And then at age 2, she had Quinn. Her name is Quinn. She had to have open heart surgery. Her heart enclosed. And shortly before she had her heart surgery, I got a message from one of my college mates, and she said, "Is it CDH that Quinn had?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "My son's teacher is pregnant and just found out that they have CDH. Can I connect you too?" And I said, "Yeah, let's do this heart surgery and get through this, and then I'd be happy to talk to her." And it was, I like I said before, it's kind of, I wish that I had that person. Sometimes I wish that I had joined while I was pregnant, because I was glad that I was able to share my experience with her. I didn't want to say anything that gave her hope that it would go the same way for her. But I also wanted to, let her know that she wasn't alone. And so I just kind of let her talk, and I was there for her. And if she asked questions, I would share for her my experience. So after doing that, when the opportunity came up to be the Michigan ambassador too, I felt like this is something that I want to do. I want to be there for others, and in any way that they need me to, whether it's just an ear or, advice or anything. So, but yeah, Quinn she's feisty and she's smart, and we love her. And I can't imagine not having her here with us. She teaches us every day, something new every day. And she you know, she has her feeding struggles, but like, if that's it, I mean, like, we're so lucky, you know? So she has a little brother, James, and yeah, we're it's crazy, you know. Having our second too was always the question: is this going to happen again? You know, even though we had the genetic testing and it came back negative, you never know. I mean, it happened the first time, you know, so you never know. I can't imagine the parents that have their CDH child when they have older siblings, you know, and they're not able to be in the NICU all the time and they have to split their time, you know. So, you know, I know that there are some people that are worried to have another child, and but I don't know. I just feel like we wanted a sibling for Quinn, and who knows what the future will hold with more or not.
That's
So
wonderful. I'm so glad that she's doing well, and I hate when the doctors tell parents not to Google CDH, because I know what it was like to be alone, because there was no cherubs, there was nothing when my son was born. So the whole reasoning behind cherubs was that families wouldn't have to be alone. And it always drives me crazy. I understand the reasoning behind it. They're
right.
trying to protect you, but at the same time, it's 2019, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wish that they would send patients to a support charity instead of saying, don't Google it, go here.
Right. Right.
And hopefully the new parent reference guide will just get those plastered everywhere, and then they can say, here you go, don't Google it, because this is everything you need to know right here, and you can avoid the scary stuff on the internet, because
I
it is
mean, I was able to read what the hospital's page said about it. So I had that information, but as far as the support, I mean, I had my family, which was amazing, you know, but I also, I don't know, you always never know what you're going to do until you're in it. And I didn't, I kept it pretty private. I didn't tell many people about it. You know, a lot of people would say, you know, oh, you're pregnant, congratulations. Is it a boy or a girl? Oh, we don't know. Well, as long as they're healthy. And I would just walk away and I'd start crying. Like, what if they're not healthy? It's still okay, you know? So it definitely made me more aware of like how I speak to people when they're pregnant now. Just some of the common questions or responses that people give, you know, like might really trigger them or hurt them. And they did not mean it that way. You know what I mean? It's not like they were trying to hurt you or, but yeah, it's just, I don't know, maybe if I was more open about it, people wouldn't have given me those responses though too. So just kind of, you know, didn't want everything to be about, I wanted to still have a fun pregnancy, and I didn't want everything to be about, you know, the what ifs and those kind of questions from people. I just wanted to celebrate that we were having a baby. So
That's understandable. Yeah. People still would have said the same thing if they had known. That's just human nature. So either way, people mean well. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's hard to find the right words about situations that you've never been in yourself. So
right.
But it's good that you got to enjoy the pregnancy without all the questions too. That was probably pretty smart. I don't know if I've heard another parent say that before, honestly.
I mean, my family knew, don't get me wrong, but as far as even after she was born, we had care pages rather than Facebook. So I made it public, I guess, once she came home. But I don't know, I think I was just so internal about everything, which isn't always the best thing to do, but that's just how it was for me then.
If that's how you cope, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so happy she's doing well. I love the name Quinn. That's adorable.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you for
we called
volunteering.
our Mighty Quinn. It's her theme song.
That makes sense.
Thank you for helping the families in Michigan, and welcome aboard as a volunteer. And
Thank you.
we appreciate you sharing your story with us and for wanting to help others. And I know it's not easy reliving all of that, and it's still hard for me too. And I've told my story 1,000 times, but there's nothing
Yeah.
easy about CDH. And
Hello, I'm David Arquette, and I want to wish a happy anniversary to CDH International for 30 years of their incredible work. April is Global Congenital Diaphragmatic Hernia Awareness Month. 1 in 2,500 babies are born with this awful birth defect. Watch the telethon, raise awareness, and donate to cdhi.org to help these incredible kids. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dallas Dupree Young, and I'm here to tell everyone that April 19th is CDH Awareness Day, and CDH International is trying to save the kids. Visit them at cdhi.org to learn more.
It's Congenital Diaphragmatic Hernia Awareness Day. It affects 1,600 kids a year in the US with a 50% chance of survival. So please, please, please donate to help the kids today. Thank you.
Morning. Asking you, on behalf of the Congenital Diaphragmatic Hernia Study Group, to join us to help fight congenital diaphragmatic hernia.
Hi, I'm Wendy Chung, asking you on behalf of the DREAM Study to join us in the help to fight congenital diaphragmatic hernia.
I'm Tracy Meads, asking you on behalf of Cherubs to join us to help fight congenital diaphragmatic hernia.
I'm Julia Wynn, asking you on behalf of DREAMS to join us in the help to fight congenital diaphragmatic hernia.
I'm Dawn Ireland, asking you on behalf of CDH International to join us to help fight congenital diaphragmatic hernia.
By working together
to study the genetic components,
neonatal care,
surgical care,
family history, and long-term health of CDH patients,
we hope to someday prevent it.
Find out if your hospital is part of the CDH study group, and if they aren't, encourage them to join.
Contact us about participating in genetic research at DREAMS.
Fill out the CDH survey at Cherubs.
All CDH families are invited to join in this project.
Your participation in all 3 studies is vital.
Together,
we can end congenital diaphragmatic hernia.
We have Lynn Brogdon here with us. She's going to tell us about her family's journey, her son Bear. And Lynn, tell us what life was like pre-CDH and where you live and when you first heard the words congenital diaphragmatic hernia.
Thank you very much. Well, before CDH, we had 3 teenagers. They were almost 17, 16, and 12, so almost 3 teenagers. And we decided that, after 12 years almost, we'd like to add another child to our family. We were pretty lucky. It only took about 4 months and very uneventful pregnancy, no problems at all. I was 34 when we conceived, so no special prenatal testing other than quad screening, which came back fine. No problems. Pretty uneventful pregnancy. I worked up until I was in labor with Bear. He came a few days early. He was a planned C-section because I had had 3 C-sections prior to. So he decided to come a little early. I won't say I was worried. I was stubborn and tried to work through labor and be in denial, but that's okay. That's the nurse in me. I am a nurse. I was working in occupational health. I'd left emergency medicine, so I wasn't doing any actual patient intensive contact at the time during my pregnancy. So that was great. So, like I said, uneventful pregnancy. We go to the hospital to deliver a few days early, thinking nothing's going to be wrong. Prep for C-section, had my C-section. they did tell me he's struggling a little bit to breathe, so we're going to bag him. I'm a nurse. I knew what bagging meant. I wasn't really worried because our previous child, who was 12, he had to be bagged a little bit. So I really wasn't worried, concerned. They did tell us, well, because we had to give him a little bit of oxygen, we may take him to the NICU, but for now, he's going to go on to newborn nursery. Fine, I wasn't worried. But if I'm being honest, in the back of my mind, maybe a little bit, my mommy senses did kind of kick in a little bit. But my husband had been a paramedic for, 15 years and had been a paramedic instructor. So I knew he knew what to watch out for. He was going to go down to newborn nursery with him. Wasn't that concerned. So they wheeled me on to recovery. My husband went with Bear down to newborn nursery. And all this that's going on is kind of unbeknownst to me because I'm recovering from a C-section. So meanwhile, I did have anesthesia come in to tell me, hey, there's a couple of little issues with the baby. They're not going to bring him in to see you, but your husband and someone from the NICU will be in to talk to you. Ding, ding, ding. I kind of knew something must not be right. So in the meantime, I had a paramedic friend who I happened to see go by. He was there doing a NICU transport. He peeped in, said, hey, and all that. I found out later he kind of got a couple answers to some questions I didn't get at the time, which was probably good. So I'm going to say probably 45 minutes after giving birth, my husband and neonatology came in. And I believe my OBGYN came in. I'm not sure. And they said, we don't know what's going on with the baby. We think he may have a pneumothorax. I knew what a pneumothorax was. I knew how they treated that. Wasn't that worried. Then a few minutes, well, it felt like a few minutes later, but I'm not exactly sure how long after, they came back in and said, we want to let you know your baby has a congenital diaphragmatic hernia. I'd never heard of congenital diaphragmatic hernia, even as a nurse. My husband and I had both seen traumatic diaphragmatic hernias. We knew what those were, knew how they're treated. So the problems, that go with that, they're associated with that, we were a little familiar with, but I was still blown away. I wasn't expecting this at all. I thought I'm going to go in, I'm going to have a healthy baby. I've been through this 3 times before. I know what to expect. And here I'm presented with something that I'm not even really sure what it is. So, trying to get my wits about me to find out, well, what does this mean? What's our course of action? Where do we go from now? And they told us, we don't usually take care of these babies here. We are a level 3 NICU. So we delivered at Greenville. Well, at that time, it was Greenville Medical Center. This time it's Prisma, which was a great hospital. I felt very comfortable delivering there prior to, especially if there were any problems. So they did tell us we usually don't keep these babies here. And I found kind of interesting they refer to them as these babies quite a bit. So, which I was like, well, I want to hear about my baby, not these babies. But anyway, so they did tell us there's a chance that we may have to fly him out to Medical University of South Carolina. I'm familiar with that facility, or to Emory University for ECMO. Didn't really know. I'd heard of ECMO before, wasn't really sure a lot about what it did, especially for pediatrics or NICU babies. Wasn't real sure about that. So, I asked them, well, when are you going to know if you're going to have to send him or not? And of course, they said, we don't know when we're going to know. There's a lot of things that are going to have to depend on it. Right now, he looks good. He's stable. His stats are great. He is intubated. I found out later my husband did get to go with him to be intubated because he used to be a preceptor for a paramedic program there, so he knew respiratory, which I couldn't have done that, but he did a great job with it. So we asked him, can you keep him here in Greenville, South Carolina, as long as you can? Do you think you can manage him here? And they said, yes, we can do that for you. So by day 3, they came to us early in the morning and said his stats are great. Everything looks good. All the tests we ran looks like, everything looks good. So we're going to go ahead and do his repair. We're going to get ready to go ahead and do that. And it was interesting because the surgeon was just the sweetest country guy ever. He said, we're just going to reach up in that chest and we're going to pull those things right back down, which I don't think it made my husband feel good, but looking back, it's hilarious. So anyway, turned out he was a really great surgeon. So day number 3, they did his repair. They told us that he did have a pneumothorax during surgery. That was not an unexpected complication. They did needle decompression. And I will say we're lucky because we knew what all this meant. And I will say we're lucky we knew what it meant, but we weren't lucky because we also knew what bad things meant. So we didn't get a lot of false hope so to speak. So anyway, surgery went great. I talked to neonatology and I talked to surgery and said, hey, when can we expect our baby to come home? That's all I was thinking of. And surgeon said, so he was born on December 4th. So surgeon said, I'm going to say 2 weeks, definitely before Christmas. The NICU nurses are looking at me going, looking back now, they knew, they knew they were there a little bit more. We did find out that we were lucky. One of the neonatologists was new to that hospital, had only been there maybe a couple of weeks, and CDH had been one of his specialties. So I wish I could remember his name, but I don't even remember. It's a little bit of a blur. But they took good care of him. There were a couple times, we had concerns. We were there the largest part of the day, which is really hard when you've got 3 teenagers at home. And we live in Greenville, South Carolina, but all our family's from North Carolina. So we had nobody here. My husband and myself, we were lucky we had a large support system at church to bring food, do some things for our kids, but it was really hard to balance being there for teenagers and being there for sick newborn. I was lucky to have some leave, so I was able to visit the hospital. Gosh, I would say I got up as soon as the kids went to school in the morning, straight to hospital, and then came home, waited for my husband to get home. We went back to the hospital till probably 9 or 9:30. My goal was to wait till the baby went to sleep, but that didn't always happen. So a couple of times I will say there were a few hiccups, and I think us being educated as healthcare providers helped a lot. I feel really bad for people who are not in healthcare because they don't know what to look for. We definitely had an advantage. I think we had great care. There were a couple of things that we just didn't agree with. When they sent him back he had a echocardiogram and some other things, and they explained they would sedate him. And because he had an oral aversion, he didn't, and let me go back to preface that, his respirations were really high. So they weren't comfortable at a certain point feeding him by mouth. And I knew that, I understood that. So he did have an NG tube. And they said, well, since we're going to go ahead and sedate him anyway, why don't we go ahead and put a feeding tube in? And I had to come apart. I will say this one time I had to come apart. So I don't want that right now, because I don't think, that he's eating well with the NG tube. He's gaining a little bit of weight. I'm afraid if you put that in, it won't come out. I just knew from being a nurse that it would be a hard, it would be a hard transition. Was that the right thing? I'll never know, if that was the right thing or not. It worked out great for him, but I don't know that in the big picture was it. So that was our thinking behind that. He was probably 2.5 or 3 weeks old before
Hey there, this is Amrit and Nicholas from Bravo TV's Family Karma, and we are so pleased to participate in the telethon for CDH.
52,000 babies are born with a congenital diaphragmatic hernia every